In Yeshua's day, he had many people that were called followers. These were people that listened to his wisdom and watched the things that he did as well. You know, what kind of example he set, what he did for other people. And as he was going along, he was teaching many. There were crowds that would follow him. They would gather, big, large crowds of people, and they'd be around him for hours, even days. And then there were times where people stopped following Yeshua. They, you know, if something came out of his mouth that maybe they found offensive, then they wouldn't follow him anymore, right? Well, who can listen to these kinds of words? You know, what he was doing before and saying before, that's great. But now, what's he saying? He says you have to eat his body and drink his blood. What the heck is he talking about, right? And people were offended, and he lost a bunch of followers. And but there were some that stuck around, of course, because they trusted that, you know what, there's something that's probably a little deeper behind his words than what it sounded like on the outside. You know, sometimes, and that's the thing about here on YouTube, sometimes you can hear somebody say something, and because your ears were not prepared to hear what they were saying, you might get offended and stop following them, you know, unsub from them, because maybe they said something that that you quickly found offensive, and you said, that's it, I'm unsubbing. Maybe you liked listening to that person before for a while, but then you got offended or whatever. Or perhaps also that person, you kind of grew out of their teachings. Kind of like, is there a problem with an elementary school teacher, like let's say a first grade teacher? Is there any problem with a first grade teacher? Well, for a first grader, no. But for a sixth grader, yeah. Because the sixth grader has graduated from the first grade, and if they're still going to listen to their first grade teacher and they want to stay in the first grade, that's one thing. You know, for all the years they just keep on repeating first grade. But if they have made it to the sixth grade, they might think to themselves, you know what? I appreciate my first grade teacher, but I think it's time to move on. And bless them. It's nothing against the teacher. I bless that teacher. That teacher had done so much for me, but I think I've graduated from there. Now, I myself, there's been many people that I've learned from over the years, and because I don't listen to their stuff anymore, doesn't mean it's because it's offensive to me, right? And going back to, by the way, what I was saying about maybe your ears not being prepared to hear stuff that people say. Sometimes people do speak in a way that's like parallels, like Yeshua did, speaking in parallels. And because people didn't understand his parallels, they might have found things offensive, right? Or if they didn't see the depth of what he was saying, like eating his body and drinking his blood. Like, what? Now, on the surface level, that sounds crazy, but he was saying something very, very deep that many, many people understand today. I don't know how many people understand it to the fullness of what it is, probably none, but at least we have a little bit of an understanding in our minds about what that really means, partaking of his body and his blood, represented by the bread and the wine. So anyhow, going back to there's been a lot of people I've listened to, followed over the years and all that, and then eventually it's not for me anymore, and it's not because I wish them ill or anything like that. It's just that the things that they're teaching, it was for me when I was maybe, like, spiritually speaking, if you will, a first grader. right? Even a kindergartner. I mean, when I first exited the Jehovah's Witnesses religion, I was 30 years old, and I was born and raised in it 30 years, and I believed it so much that I actually lived a very depressed life because I understood what this religion was teaching, and I attached God to the religion. Like, there was no separating God from the religion. Is there a God in heaven? Yeah. Is there a religion on earth? Yeah. But I thought it was God on earth, right? In the form of the religion, because the religion called itself the truth. Well, isn't God the truth? God is truth. Truth is reality in Greek. Aletheia. It means reality. So God is the reality, even though you might not see God with your eyes, but God is the reality, the truth. And my religion called itself the truth. So being programmed that it was the truth and you couldn't separate our religion from God because they went hand in hand, then you can see that for me, I believed so much in God, but also in that religion, unlike a lot of people that I knew. Friends of mine, so many people I knew in that religion, they were more trying to impress people instead of worrying about what God thought about them. You understand? Because like me, I thought, well, you know what? I can hide anything from people probably, as best I can. But God sees everything, and I was aware of that. So if I had any hidden secrets within, it was really, really getting to me so bad, you guys. The depression I went through was tremendous. And the things that I did to try to end it all, it was over and over again, it was intense to have to go through that stuff, right? But anyway, so when I'm 30 years old, I get out of that religion, and I remember when I first started listening to different preachers, preaching about the Bible still, but having a little bit of different interpretations, or not even a little bit, quite a bit different interpretation of the Bible. And, different Christian ministers, some what you would probably call New Age preachers too. Just wanted to investigate, a lot of things, see what people were teaching, because it was forbidden for me as a Jehovah's Witness to listen to anything outside of Jehovah's Witnesses. So, when I started listening to Christianity, it was like it's forbidden to, as a Christian, to listen to anything outside of Christianity. Don't listen to anything else unless it's Christianity. And, don't even go to a Catholic church and listen to what they have to say, because they're not true Christians. So you kind of have a similarity with Jehovah's Witnesses and Christianity as far as that regard goes. But I wanted to, I wasn't trying to join another religion or see who had the true faith. I just wanted to, I was just brand new, and I was absorbing, I wanted to just absorb. I was like an empty sponge. I was a sponge filled with the waters of the Jehovah's Witnesses teachings and doctrines and beliefs and such. And now those waters were drained out of me. So now I'm a dry sponge that wants to get filled with something again. So, on my quest for a personal relationship with Yeshua himself, I was being filled by other voices and all that. And some things I rejected, some things I accepted. And many things that I had rejected back then, it's funny today, because now there's things that I have accepted that I used to reject because my ears weren't prepared. Because some of the things that I was listening to back then were offensive to me, and because it was so far beyond anything that at that time, anything that my mind was thinking about, anything that my mind was really ready to absorb. It's like Yeshua always talks about soil, having soil that's ready for a seed to receive. You don't just throw a seed on any type of soil. If I take a seed and I throw it on the street here and it falls down on the asphalt, well, what's going to happen to that seed? Did I just drop it on soil that was that's proper for that seed. That the soil, the ground, the asphalt, it's proper for this car I'm driving, right? But so it's not like it's bad soil because it's proper for something. It's proper. It's soil that's useful for vehicles like mine and others that are driving on this road. But as far as this soil, this asphalt being for a certain type of seed that you want to put into earth, soil, dirt, you know what I'm saying? It's the soil. So my soil, it's not that I had bad soil. It's just that it wasn't the proper soil at the proper time for the seeds that I was. It wasn't the soil for those seeds that were being dropped, right? It wasn't the right soil yet. But as things happen, you can churn soil. You can go down there to that asphalt and take a tractor and start breaking that asphalt apart and start churning it with the dirt and all that until you just make like soil that you could probably even plant seeds in, So it's preparing that soil. And it's like what the scripture says about receiving the proper food at the proper time. Who really is giving the proper food at the proper time, right? Well, I've had a lot of people give me the proper food at the proper time, but sometimes it was the proper food for somebody else at the time, but I wasn't ready to receive it, So anyway, when you when what I do is when I try not to curse anybody or be offended by anybody, if I listened to them at one time, but then I kind of stopped, maybe they're just still teaching in a place where I'm like, that's great for teaching the people for where you're at and what they want to listen to, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was like I said, I'm learning at a first grade level, but now I'm in sixth grade and I think I need to move to another teaching, but I'm not cursing the first grade teacher for not being qualified to teach the sixth grade stuff, right? I'm blessing the first grade teacher because their qualifications are first grade teaching. That's their specialty. Their specialty isn't the sixth grade. They're going for the first grade. Not that they couldn't be a sixth grade teacher, but things would have to change for them. That a whole different change would have to go on. They're dealing with a completely different environment, right? So when I stop listening or following, or even if I were to unsub from somebody, I'll give you for instance. I'll give you an example. I was sent a video. Somebody sent me a video some time ago, and this guy was saying some interesting things, and seems to be what you would call a Messianic Jew, a Jewish man that believes in Yeshua as the Messiah. And so, some interesting things he was teaching, and but then he started. He made a video about this speaking in tongues thing, or even what's called praying in the spirit, and he was saying about it being gibberish, and that's not true. What truly speaking in tongues or praying in the spirit is. He was saying that it's actually when you talk the language of love, because God is love and all that. And it sounded really amazing, like, wow, that's really powerful. Oh yeah, the language of love. I like that. My ears, it's the language of love. Well, when I heard him saying these things, I'm like, well, that's not true for me, because I actually have that language that flows out of me. And I didn't believe in that stuff before as a Jehovah's Witness, but when it's a gift given to you by God himself and it flows out of your belly, will come rivers of living waters, right? And maybe those living waters that are coming from out of my belly and flowing out of my mouth, these rivers of living waters, maybe that's when, part of that is when I'm praying in the spirit, and it's something that was a gift given to me by God, and nobody led me to it. Nobody guided me to it. I didn't go to churches and hear preaching about it. No, not the ones I was going to at the time. So anyway, but it happened, and it's real for me. And now I do it like Paul said to the Ephesians in chapter 6. He says, praying in the Spirit at all times. Put on your spiritual armor. Yeah, put on your armor, wear the armor, but don't forget this piece, you guys, because most people stop at armor piece number 6, but there's actually 7. Look it up in Ephesians chapter 6. The final piece of armor Paul speaks about is the 7th piece, which is praying in the Spirit, praying at all times in the Spirit. There's something powerful that Paul's suggesting you do. God gave you a gift. Use it. Use it. And guess what? You can understand that gift as well. And that's something that happened to me not too long ago, just at the very beginning of this year in January. Understanding these words that were coming out of my mouth, the understanding, interpreting the definition of these words, even spelling out these words. It's like I'm writing a whole new language in my, I write it down for myself. It's really been amazing. And, oh, wow, you talk about it coming from God. I'll just tell you one thing. The etymology of words. Etymology means the study of the root meaning of words. And that's just happens to be one of my passions. It helped to set me free from the indoctrination that I had as a Jehovah's Witness for those 30 years, and understanding the root meaning of words, even though I do a much better job today than I did back then. But I was only doing what I was learning slowly. And now I've gotten pretty good at studying and understanding the etymology of words, and I keep on getting better with it, just more improving. And it's amazing. It's a lot of work. It takes time. You do a lot of research and stuff like that, but you keep searching and digging for these treasures, and you find out things. So when you study the etymology of words, you find out that there are words, whether it's in English or Hebrew or Greek or whatever language you're studying, there's words that are composed of other words, and they're brought together, like in Greek, metanoia. So you've got metanoia. Where does noia come from? Noia is a word in Greek that comes from the root word nous. So getting to the root word. What's noia? Well, let's go to the root meaning of noia. Noia comes from nous. Nous is mind. Noia is the thinking of the mind in action, right? Like you have nouns and you've got verbs. In Greek, the noun for love is agape, but the verb agape in action, love in action, is agapao. So Yeshua says God is agape. So if you want to know the substance of God, who God is, the noun, who God is love, agape. But when God loved you and gave you Yeshua, his only begotten son, Yeshua says, God agapao you. Agapao is his love, God's love in action. Right? So back to metanoia. So metanoia comes from meta and noia. Noia comes from nous, which is your mind. So noia is your mind in action, how your thought process is going. And then meta is to change. Meta, it's changing, right? That's why metamorphosis, morph is your form, your mold, your form. Metamorph is to change form or transform. So metanoia is to change the way your mind thinks, change your thinking. So studying the etymology of words, it started really changing things for me, and helping me to understand, things that were written in the Bible that, maybe as a Jehovah's Witness, our Bible translation said one thing, but then when you read it in the Hebrew or the Greek that the Bible was written in, and then you study the etymology of the words, you find out it's actually saying something a lot different. So back to my prayer language, my praying in the Spirit. I'm writing down not just the words I'm saying, I'm writing down the meaning of them. It happens at the same time. When the word I speak comes out of my mouth, the interpretation is going through my mind at the same time. That's how it works for me. And it's not every single thing, because I can pray in the Spirit and say a bunch of words fluently, and talk for 5 minutes straight, 10 minutes. I mean, as long as I want to. But what I'm saying is, once in a while, one of the words will just boom, pop, it'll just come to me, like what I just said in this sentence, and the understanding of it comes as well. And then what happens is I start to understand the basic of what I'm praying about. It's pretty interesting. So Paul said, pray for understanding as well. When you're praying in the Spirit, pray for understanding as well. So seek it, you guys. Seek it. It's there. It's a gift given to you. It just needs to come out of you. It's almost like it's unboxing your gift. You're unwrapping your gift. You've already been given these gifts, but have you unwrapped them? Have you even discovered them? Are they hiding under a tree? Well, they're yours. Have you taken it and unwrapped the gift? It's not that you're asking for a gift when you're praying, hey, praying for understanding. You're actually praying, hey, can you help me find the gift? I've searched and I've searched, I can't find it, but it's yours, it's yours. Can you help me find it so I can unwrap this gift? So as I'm writing these words down that I'm speaking and their definition, I start to understand, like, through other words. I mean, I have over 100, words written down in the Spirit, and I spell and sound them. I sound them out. I spell the words, and then I put in parentheses what the word would sound like, and then which would be the phonetic. The phonetic spelling means, what it sounds like. Phonetic comes from the word phone, right? Where we get the word phone here in English. It's a Greek word, phone, P-H-O-N-E, phone, and it means sound or noise. I'm writing down these words, what they sound like, and I'll have one word that I wrote down somewhere, and then I'll find way down here a word that has a piece of another word in it. Like, like I said, like if I write the word metanoia and I have another word that says metamorphosis, well, I would notice, hey, they both have meta. And in the understanding of the word, the definition of what the word means, I'll see, whoa, they both have the word change in it. And the definition I wrote was to change. One was to change the way you think. The other one was to change your shape or form. Oh, look at that. And suddenly I realized, wow. I mean, I'm not messing with myself. I'm not just making stuff up in my head. This Spirit language, everything matches. So back to, the guy that I was listening, it's been a little while since I've been listening to him. He's that guy that I was telling you about, the Messianic Jew. He's teaching some interesting things. And, but I'm like, when he says that it's gibberish and all that, I'm like, for me, it's real. Now, if other people are saying it's gibberish, they're obviously saying it for one thing. Not because they have used the gift in the past and they found out, it's a bunch of baloney. Unless they were forcing the gift out of them. I do believe people can try to force, foreign words out of them. They might hear another guy say ba ba boo boo bee 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 ba 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 boo boo ba ba ba, and they start doing that too. I've heard that before, but who am I to say what it is? I know that Paul says to the Thessalonians in 1 Thessalonians 4:11 and 12, he says to aspire to be a quiet man do your own thing with your hands, concentrate on your own life, but quit meddling in the lives of others. If you look up the root meaning of all the words he was saying, he's saying, don't be a meddler. Live your life, be quiet, still, right? Don't be chasing after money and be anxious and worried and all that. Be quiet, be at rest, be at peace, and but aspire to do it. And to aspire to do what else? He says, aspire to stay out of other people's businesses. Don't meddle. So, how other people pray in the Spirit, if they do it out loud or anything, that's not my business to meddle or to judge or interfere or to even think about, is that fake or what? No, you know what? That's for them. That's for them. I'm not their judge. I'm not their jury. I'm not their executioner. I'm not the one that's making any decisions about that life of that person or how they should be living. That's between them and the Lord. So, but, when this guy's telling his audience that it's gibberish and the real praying in the Spirit is the language of love, well, how does he know that spiritual language, that spirit language coming out of someone's mouth like mine isn't a language of love? Because if that language is from God and that is God's gift to me and God is love, then it is a language of love, bro. So what I did is not out of offense, but I unsubbed. I'm like, well, I don't think I need to further follow this guy because now he's teaching against something that I know personally for me to be truth. And sure, there's other things I can listen to about this guy that he might have to teach that I could benefit from, but I think I just want to spend my time, if I am going to listen to anybody, I want to be edified. And if this guy is teaching that it's false, you know what? I disagree. And I think he's teaching it's false because he doesn't use the gift. He hasn't unwrapped that gift. And because he hasn't done it, it must not be a gift for anybody. And some people are so full of pride, they think that if it doesn't happen for them, then it happens to nobody else either. Like the Jehovah's Witnesses leaders, they do not preach to go lay hands on the sick in the name of Yeshua and the sick will be well. These signs will follow those that believe. They'll lay hands on the sick. They'll cast out demons. They'll open the eyes of the blind. They'll do so many amazing things that Yeshua did, right? Well, those signs just follow people that just believe. Just believing, that's like just the beginning. If you just believe, those signs will follow you. So these guys, they don't even believe. And because they don't believe, they don't have. And because they don't have, they don't teach. Because none of you can do that thing if us, your leaders, can't do it. And there's a bunch of Christians that are the same way. Oh, I'm so-and-so. I have a great name in Christianity. I've got a doctorate in theology. I went to Bible school for so many years. My father was a pastor. His father was a pastor. We're a good Christian family. And now I'm here preaching to you guys. And if I don't do something that you can even find in the Bible, well, I'm going to just tell you it doesn't exist anymore. God doesn't work that way anymore. And if you want to keep following that voice because that's where you are at the time, then for you at the time, it's the proper food at the proper time. For you personally. For me, it's not the proper food at the proper time anymore because things have changed for me. Right? Just like the proper food at the proper time for me when I was a baby was my mother's breast milk. Today, that is not the proper food for me, and it is not the proper time for it. Why isn't it the proper time? Because I'm past that, so it's not the proper food for me. I eat very differently today than I did when I was a little baby. Nothing against baby's food, right? Cursed? No, of course not. It's just not for me anymore. So you understand it. It's some people do get offended if you're not following them anymore or listening to them anymore. They might even call you an apostate, right? Somebody that opposes God. You know what the truth is, but you oppose him. No, they just they stop maybe going to your church, or they stop watching you on YouTube, or whatever. They moved on. And if you take it offensively and you assume that they're offensive, and they're the problem and there's a big problem. It's not that. Sometimes people just graduate, you guys, and that's it. Don't be offended. Hey, listen, I have a YouTube channel. I lost all my followers. Every single one of them went down to 0 a few years ago. My channel got hacked, but I still, all those followers that were on there were gone, the subs. And then, and today it's not even close to the size it was back then. But I know I get people that unsub from me all the time. Still, I mean, I could be offended and think maybe they're offended with me, or maybe it's just that I'm not serving the proper food for them at the proper time. But is what I'm serving a curse to everybody because it doesn't work for them? Maybe that person thinks so. Maybe that's how they think. But you know what? I see things a little bit differently. Now, is there cursed food? Of course. There's poison that people say, this is food. It's good for you. No, that's poison. It's not. I will not be partaking of that. Because there are people that are used by dark forces. And the dark forces, they do not like you. And they do not care what happens to you as long as it's not for good, not for God, not for the side of love. So they would wish to put your light out if they can. And they will do anything they can to quench your fire. So, you know what? Those dark forces, stay away from them. Stay away from them. If you've got a taste of them, or if they've been influenced in your life, an influence in your life before, like they were mine, yeah, I just stay away. But I'm not scared of them. I don't stay away today. I don't stay away because I'm scared of them. You understand? Things have changed. No fear. I just stay away because that's not how I'm going to spend my time anymore. So, hey, listen, you guys, I got to get going. I love you. I hope this has blessed you. I hope you have a great one. Good talking to you all. I've been pretty busy lately and had a lot of things going on, so I don't make a whole lot of videos much, but when I do, I hope they're a blessing. So, love you guys, and hope to talk to you soon. Take care.